I guess, I know 3 weeks have passed, and yet you're facing a team that something that happened on the field, and how much are there any, I guess I want to say, residual emotions, or have you guys kind of cleansed that, given how you guys bonded and were able to emotionally flush a lot of things over the past couple of weeks? Are there any lingering emotional residue from stepping on that field again to face this team after what happened?
I think if anything, it was the emotional residue would be to just be out there playing football more so than facing a team. You know, these two teams shared an experience that no other teams that I've known, you know, in different circumstances, yes, but I wouldn't say there's any apprehension out there or residual effects. I think just being able to play ball these last few weeks has been good. You know, I think a few guys are still coming down emotionally, like kind of catching up on their rest and stuff. So for me personally, I can only speak for myself. It's subsided a bit. Who knows how that might manifest itself on game day, but you go with the flow as you do within this game, and you know, it's a good question. But I think we're making the right steps to continue on.
How much does it help to see Damar around the facility and be able to hug him and see him smile and all that?
Exponentially, yeah. It helps. There's a lot of reprieve in seeing him, and just kind of carrying conversations, chewing the fat. You know, he seems to be, you know, I think still physically very, you know, tired and kind of coming out, but the guy's in great spirits, and that also helps with the recovery process for all of us as well.
Sean had you guys do a walkthrough today. Josh said it's nice because it's a long season, and the fact that he trusts you guys to get the work you need in. How nice is it as a veteran who's put the miles on now this season to be able to take some time and just kind of get that type of work in?
Yeah, that was huge. You know, the thing is, the catch-22 of it is that, you know, he puts the ball in your court to be professionals, right? Now you have to get out. You can still get a tremendous amount out of walkthroughs if you apply yourself, and you can still use your technique and put time on task and build muscle memory and still get looks that you might see. So for us, it was just really locking in. You know, we might not physically be putting ourselves through it, but mentally we can go through the gymnastics of what we might see and still be able to do the foundational work physically to get what we need to get done.
Because you just prepared for them 3 weeks ago and they for you, I mean, do you get to almost, for both teams, look a little deeper or more detailed than you might even?
Yeah, for me, I still feel like I like to start from square one again. Yeah, there is that familiarity. You know, we only had 10 plays on offense, maybe 11 on that one drive. So there's not much film to work with what we had. But like you said, they've played the same team twice. For me personally, I like to start from the very beginning with some familiarity. There's these sparks of you go back to your notes because you keep notebooks, and you revisit those to see what kind of keys, and then we'll go through the third downs and all that stuff. So there'll be some familiarity in that part for sure. It'll be a refresher, but I just like to start from the very beginning again.
They're 29th in sacks, their defense. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it does. They're, like I said, formidable to say the least. They have some incredible pass rushers, run stoppers. They play good defense, and I think that front seven, it can, if you let them get going, they can really make a difference. So it'll be a great competitive battle. You watch the film, the guys play with just a competitive edge, and you know, you hear playing through the whistle so many times, but these guys really seem to thrive doing that, and they get a lot of production by just out competing their opponent.
When you look at this last game, you see 7 sacks on Josh. It stands out because I think there's only one other game this season where he's had 5 or more. As an offensive line group, you know, what went into that, and is when you see something like that in the media rooms, something where you kind of rally around that, like not wanting that to happen.
You never want to give up sacks, and yeah, 7 was quite a daunting number. I think we just rally around the fact that we double down on what we know works. Be very, intrinsically look at ourselves, motivate ourselves. We don't need much outside rah-rah to tell us that there's definitely room to improve in that department. Sometimes sacks are just going to happen. It's part of the gig. But, there's plenty of times in those instances where we could have done better, and we plan on fixing those mistakes and doing better.
Josh was already playing at such a high caliber coming into this season through the regular season playoffs. Is there any place that you've seen him take a step this year that maybe it's behind the scenes or on the field just that stands out even when he was doing so much already?
I think it's consistency. It's always been a thing with him. But he just his consistent work ethic and being able to, no matter win or lose, come back then that Wednesday or Tuesday, whenever his game planning week starts for the next opponent, and having a clean slate with kind of this fire to be the best he can be, and that kind of sets the groundwork for all of us to follow. And he has such a great combination of being this big kid, but also a true professional that understands that he holds the weight of a franchise. So I think he's just his consistency throughout the weeks and his ability to, deal with injuries and just go out there and not show it, be stoic when it's time. The time is that it's greatest. When the pressure's at its highest, he seems to be at his calmest.
Yeah, you mentioned that weight of a franchise, the pressure. Is it different right now in the playoffs than in the regular season, the way he handles it or anything like that?
No, I think you understand what works for you in a regular season, and anyone who tries to change that or coach differently, you understand the stakes are higher. You understand that mistakes are amplified, because it is the playoffs. But if you let that tense you up or change your routine, then you're kind of setting yourself in a hole, especially if you know what you do works for you. And that could change for each person and be different for each person.
How much of a common experience has it been for you to be on this playoff run, this almost career-long playoff run that you've been on, and how much, I don't know if easier is really not the word, but more comfortable going into a big game situation such as this at this time of your career?
Well, yeah, that every season and playoff run is so different. You do have post experiences to draw upon, but it's hard not to fight off the fact that these are the playoffs, and like I had said before, the stakes are so high. But also, like I said before, this is what I've learned, to stick to your routine, double down on what you know works. Maybe be a little stricter in your routine than usual, but nothing crazy. Because when you get outside of yourself is when you get in trouble.
Can you tell us a little bit about, the efficiency of running the ball evolved over the course of the season, and James came on and took on a bigger role. Just compare kind of what it was like sort of the last month of the season running the ball, how you felt about your effectiveness compared to the first 3-4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, we were still kind of you can't put this on one position or one position group or one guy, one individual. We were all kind of learning the nuances of this run game that were fairly different than in the past. Along with that, there's different runs that work for different teams every year. Just because one year, say in 2019, we were a huge pin and pull team. The next year, we were outside zone team. It's not like you plan on that. It's just happens to be what your bread and butter is. So, and that can evolve throughout a season as well. It also depends on the game plan. There's so many variables. There's so many dependent variables and independent variables that you just kind of go with the flow, and it was time on task, and we were able to get enough repetition that we're still not comfortable with where we are, but we feel like we're much farther progressed than we were, like you said, in the beginning of the season.